Let's delve into SQL injection further. Remember, our goal is to understand the potential risk and devise ways to mitigate it. Our script now tests multiple different SQL injection payloads. These payloads are designed to always evaluate as true when inserted into an SQL where clause, which can often lead to unauthorized access if the application doesn't properly sanitize its SQL queries. The payloads list includes 5 common variants of the same payload, using different comment syntaxes to try to bypass simple sanitization attempts. The first one uses the standard SQL comment syntax of to ignore anything after the payload. The second one uses the MySQL-specific comment syntax of hash as an alternative. The third one uses the multi-line comment syntax asterisk, which might bypass sanitization methods looking specifically for or hash. The final ones are variations of the first 2 payloads, without the semicolon. Some systems might recognize the semicolon as a potential SQL injection attempt and block it, so these payloads attempt to bypass such a check. The script sends a GET request to the provided URL, appending each payload to the URL. If it gets a 200 status code in response, it marks the website as potentially vulnerable to SQL injection. If it gets a non-200 status code, it also checks the response body for the payload. If the payload appears in the response body without being sanitized, it could be used in a second-order SQL injection, so the script also marks the website as potentially vulnerable in this case. Remember, just because a website returns a 200 status code doesn't mean it's vulnerable to SQL injection. It might just be ignoring the payload. Similarly, just because a payload appears in the response body doesn't mean it's definitely vulnerable to second-order SQL injection. The payload might still get sanitized before being used in an SQL query. This script is a simple vulnerability scanner, and any potential vulnerabilities it finds should be confirmed with further testing. In a real-world scenario, ethical hackers or cybersecurity professionals would use much more sophisticated tools and techniques for SQL injection testing, and would always seek permission before performing any tests. In our next video, we'll continue to explore the fascinating world of cybersecurity. Remember, we're learning about these techniques to better understand threats and build robust defenses, not to exploit vulnerabilities unlawfully. Always practice responsible and ethical hacking. Stay safe and keep learning.